This week on the show, we're kicking things off with Mechanics 101. Here at 4 Wheel Drive TV, we don't do things by half, and when we broke another CV on our 80, we headed down to see Allan at Terrain Tamer to learn how one of Australia's leading mechanics tackles this common problem. Allan took no time in getting started and took to the job with his typical character and informative style.
Okay, the trouble's in there somewhere. It hasn't got freewheel hubs on it, of course, on this model. So we take these drive plates off. You've got a little circlip here that's got to come off. Yeah, so we'll undo this drive plate bolt. Slide off there, there's never any... Hello, we got all the bits. Have a look at this. Oh, look at that. That's really trying hard to hang on, and it's not a straight brake. It's really got all of it. We've got to pull the disc rotor off and hub, so I've got to take this cylinder off. We're wearing gloves, of course, because grease is a bit more carcinogenic than it used to be. So we sort of take a few precautions, see we're going to live to be 150. And what's happened here is when the axle went, either this time or last time, it's belled the end of the housing up. See, that's sort of finger tight there, and the outside damaged. So that part of it's off. Your lock washer in here somewhere, hopefully. We'll replace that. If you got stuck, you could reuse it, but assuming we got a good kit, it'll have one of those in it. So that should all come off now, with a little luck. It's not unusual for a fair amount of oil to run out when you take more of this apart. So if you're on somebody else's clean floor, you need to put some newspaper or tin down to catch the oil. That spindle, we might replace it here, but in the bush you'd have to dress that up. We'll go through what you might be able to do with it once you get it off. We will put a new one on that because we're able to, you know, we've got the parts here, but if you're in the bush, you just keep on with that and that'd be quite safe. We haven't ground off any more than what was protruding before. You could do that with a file if we wanted to and use the nut. As soon as you get the nut started, do what we did, just tap it and turn it by hand, you'll get it real good. So that's the broken piece. So we've had an axle failure there, where that axle's just twisted off, trying to drive those big fat tyres, I think. The bits have been jammed a couple of times and have damaged the inside of that spindle housing when they opened out, of course. They're trying to drive, they'd probably drive for a little while even broken. But, you know, damage has taken place. So most of the damage has been inside the spindle. And to some extent that's probably better because the damage is confined to the spindle itself, but sometimes the outer housing cracks open and the damage is inside this housing, and that really adds to the expense. So if that ever happens, we've got to really look at the inside, because where the swivel housing bearings mount and where the housing turns, it can be very damaged. We've got to make sure that there's no bits and pieces stuck in here anywhere that cause any further damage. We could check the oil seal on the inside there. So we'll wash all that out and clean it up. Okay, so there's the broken bit there with the Burfield joint, and that's the new part there that we're going to put on. That's known as a constant velocity universal joint, which gives us a very smooth power transmission. There's two types of outer axles now. There's a standard Japanese one, which is like the one we pulled off. This is the other type where we've got a grease nipple in the end of it here. It's quite a great idea, and you can grease it a couple of shots every time you service the car. It's a unique product, and Terrain Tamer have brought it out, and it's proving to be a very popular way of lubricating right inside the balls there. We've put our circlip on there. It doesn't have to index in any spline, it just drops on there. We might wriggle it around just a little bit to compress that into that deep groove, and then we've got ourselves a new unit on this side. People ask about percentages. There's just probably 5% molybdenum is plenty. You can get 10%, but 5% is plenty. You don't. We fill the rest up with just ordinary good quality wheel bearing grease. It pays if you're really pushing hard to keep the wheel straight ahead, because when you get over at this angle here, it does take more power to drive these things, and it's sometimes when they can shear off. So, you know, it's okay to turn the steering wheel right to left to get more traction, but if you're really barreling, you really need to keep the wheels straight ahead. It's stronger in that position than obviously it is trying to drive over this side here. Four-wheel drive TV blokes use it pretty hard, but this has done 300,000 kilometres and it looks very good. It's a rugged vehicle, all right, plenty of ground clearance, and you look under here and it just looks really, really good order. It's good, something you can rely on. We'll put it back together with our new parts and see how we go. I use this red grease, this flash lube red grease. It's pretty good. You pull off things that have been in for a long while and it's still very greasy, very slippery, and it seems to hold its high temperature. Even smells nice. This model's got needle roller bearings on the inside. The early model had a brass bush. Because of the axle failure, some of the metal's got out, and there's metal obviously gone into these bearings, and we're going to have to replace them. If you're stuck in the bush, you would wash them up, grease them and put them back. And when you come home, you'd have to do them. If you're doing it out in the bush, you'd have gone through a few of your wife's undies, mopping up grease and stuff. Well, don't use your own shirt. You have nothing to go home in. Don't let your wife see you doing this. You'll be stuck with doing the dishes every time you play up. But a little brush is handy, not as big as that, just a little paintbrush is handy to take with you. You never know, clean up little bits around the place. Otherwise you're going around picking up bits of scrub to sort of clean out parts with. So we've got a bearing kit, got everything in it. Here we've got seals, lock plate, gasket, bearings. What I normally do is put something across the top of it there and just get it started. Got our new bearings in and the oil seal. We'll put it onto the new spindle. While you're under here doing all this, you can have a look at lots of things, like the brake hose is perished or porous or leaking. Have a look at the disc pads, of course, while you got it off.
Well, thanks, Allan, for a unique perspective on replacing the old CV. And watch out for Allan's next four-wheel drive TV repair.